The smartest leaders multiply whatever they have to do by pi. Not food, pat in my belly, not food, but pi is in the number, 3.14 over to infinity. In other words, if you have a 20-minute thing that you need to get done, assume it's going to take just over an hour. If you have a meeting that's going to be happening and it's an all-day meeting that's in, say, another city, then assume it's going to take 3 days. That buffer makes a lot of sense. Let's break that down a little bit. If you're having a 20-minute conversation, then if it's a business call, or in my case, a coaching call, I do one-on-one coaching similar to the conversation we're having now, then you have to prepare for that, right? So if you're preparing for that, 5, 10, 15 minutes on the front end, right? Then let's say you have your meeting. Cool, that was an amazing meeting. All right, how are we going to take action from here? What are we going to do? Oh, I need to write it down. Should we set up the next meeting? Where do we go from here? What do we do from now? 10, 15, 20 minutes on the end. Suddenly you have 45, 55, maybe even 60 minutes of your life taken up by that thing. That's the pie concept. If you're used to traveling, as I have, as a keynote speaker, as a journalist, or what have you, then you travel somewhere, particularly of a different time zone, and you're doing a red eye, or you're getting up super early in the morning. That day before you travel, physically, there's some stuff that goes on, of course, because you're going to get tired and you're trying to get stuff together. You're physically packing whatever you need to do, but you're also wrapping up all your work because you know that next day you'll be indisposed, as they say, and you won't be available. So you're doing your phone calls, you're cramming everything in, you're doing your deadlines earlier and all that stuff. Then you do your event, whatever it is, conference, visiting family, whatever. And then you get back home and then you're playing catch up. That's another day. One day times 3.14. It's a really simple, beautiful concept. It is so elegant. And that's something that it seems like Mr. Buffett practices, and that's something that Gates learned from him. He has good insight as far as the 40-year career that he's had so far and how to look about where you're going to go in the future. This is what he says. We always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. Don't let yourself be lulled into inaction. Again, we always overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years and underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10. First of all, if you're looking at the 10-year period instead of the 2-year period, then it forces you to set up systems rather than getting into motions or habits. Again, if you're looking at the long range, 10 years, then it forces you to build systems rather than working on just your emotions or your habits. Particularly your emotions part is the issue. What I mean by that is, if you want to eat better and you say, okay, tomorrow I'm only going to eat toast and white foods or whatever the thing is, how long is that going to work? Okay, you do that on Tuesday, but what about Wednesday? What about in February? What about this fall? What about 2 years from now? What about 5 years from now? What about when you go on vacation or you travel somewhere? What about when you're eating out? It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. But if you're thinking 10 years, you can say, okay, well, how about I go ahead and get a membership to a food basket thing, so fresh food is sent to me every month through like a co-op or I forget what the term is when they have the farm fresh produce that comes through and it's slightly abused or slightly damaged. Like it's like that's kind of sustainable. Because as long as those things, the farm co-ops or whatever are available, then you can have healthy food come to you every week or every month or every day, whatever the system is. That's actually a system. Habits are somewhere in between where it's like, I'm going to have this habit and get into this routine, but routines can wear on us. And so I like systems more than routines because I tend to get bored. Which, if you look at the lineage of my career, you can go to my LinkedIn, just look up Damon Brown, you'll see a lot going on there. Or even go to damonbrown.net and look at my history. I began as a journalist when I was a wee lad, got 2 degrees in journalism, became a regular writer for Playboy, the New York Post, and a lot of those folks. Went over to Silicon Valley, became the main reporter for the New York Post, talking about Silicon Valley. And then I became an entrepreneur. And then I became a TED speaker. And then I became a coach, and then I'm selling my company, and then I became a dad, and now I'm doing this. And so having those routines at least for me, isn't enough. I need to have some type of motivation beyond that. I need to have systems, presence. I talk to my kids and people that I coach and guide all the time. Here's what she says on presence. There's not a human being alive who doesn't want in any conversation, encounter, experience with another human being to feel like they matter. Who doesn't want to? Sorry, who doesn't want to? Let's try that again. There's not a human being alive who doesn't want in any conversation, encounter, experience with another human being to feel like that they matter. And you can resolve any issue if you could just get to what it is that they want. They want to be heard. And they want to know that what they said to you meant something. Most people go their entire lives and nobody really wants the answer to, how are you? Tell me about yourself. I take this one personally because it drives me nuts when people will ask casually, how are you? And I'll start to say something and then they'll just start talking. So to them, it's the equivalent of hi. It's perfunctory. They're not actually what they call active listening within the psychological world, right? And so what she's talking about is being fully present. I say this to my coaching clients. I say it's in a couple keynotes the whole time. My kids are screaming in the background. There's actually a nice cup of tea to soothe my throat that's waiting for me downstairs. I look forward to going to sleep. All that doesn't matter because I am present with you. You are the only people that matter right now. That's it. You can look me in the eyes and tell I'm telling the truth on this one. That's it. Everything else gets isolated out. It's not from a lack of love. It's more because of focus. Actually, a mentor told me about this. I love this idea. I talk about it in the Ultimate Bite-Sized Entrepreneur trilogy as far as having focus. And you can't be everything to everyone. You can try to be, I can be a mediocre dad and a mediocre speaker and appease both of y'all. But I'd rather be not available at this moment because my kids are good and be fully available to you. And once I hang up this video, then I'm fully available to my kids. It's that sense of presence, which I think Oprah's gotten really good at. People can feel that. It goes back to what we were talking about as far as with Jay-Z creating his own thing, and that builds something a little bit different. The fact is that if you're an employee, you might be able to become a millionaire at this point if you're like Facebook employee or whatever, but you're not going to become a billionaire. It's just the chance of it happening, made for the next generation as inflation goes up. But if you want to go to billionaire status, or you want to truly, as I talk in my book, bring your worth, then you have to have some type of independence and put some type of skin in the game. For instance, with Jay-Z, a few years back, he ended up buying the streaming service Tidal. And then he got all these performers on there, from Madonna to Daft Punk to, of course, the exclusive folks that were on the Rockefeller roster, including like Kanye West and Rihanna and other folks. And obviously his wife, Beyonce, where they ended up making a deal with Sony. And he ended up building his own brand with that. Now, because he's owning what later will become a major role, because streaming wasn't as hot when he got into it, say 7-8 years ago, going on 10 years ago. But he had enough of a vision to say, I'm going to invest, I don't know, 400 million or whatever it is. Actually, I think it was a lot less, probably like 100 million with other people to partner and buy the streaming service and then build it up in our own image, as Ava DuVernay would say, creating your own table. Because he did that, as Tidal has grown in size and in influence and in stock, then it's become a valuable asset that's actually part of his net worth. Now, it's not just the financial part, but also the freedom that comes with it. For instance, when he did his latest album, 444, then it came out in I want to say 2017, 2018. Phenomenal album, fascinating stuff. The controversy of it, the way he tackled it, the way he had videos, with each of the 10 or 12 songs that were on there, the rollout of it, the exclusivity, he wouldn't be able to do that and make as much of a cultural impact and financial impact if he didn't own the streaming service and own the record label. Think about that.